afternoon. I'm doing my report on the Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is a pretty unique place. It's not like all of the rest of Africa. Um, the main language in the Ivory Coast is French. That is because at one time it was owned by the French. Um, so in the 17th century, there were a lot of different kingdoms, but they were constantly changing, constantly moving, and constantly attacking each other and fighting over rights and lands. It's kind of like your medieval times in Europe. Um, it takes a process, and a lot of Europeans start to come into Africa and want to own Africa. And during that time, you have French merchants who come and make treaties with the locals so that they can build ports and trading posts. At one point, everybody leaves. For whatever reason, French leave. And then a few merchants stay and again make treaties with the locals so that they'll be able to manufacture or whatever they need. But one of these merchants, Arthur Vidal, brought in the first coffee plant. Now, if we fast forward to now, the Ivory Coast is the leading producers of coca or cocoa, coffee plants, timber, and other materials. During 1939, African planters within the colony were fighting for their rights. So a couple of the government officials got together and decided that they were going to come up with a new African Planters Union. This union fought very hard to abolish forced labor and also fought very hard to make sure that these African planters maintained their rights and were able to keep most of their profits. So when we look at the culture and at the Ivory Coast, it's much like anywhere else you would go. You have a sense of pride within the place that you live. They have their own customs. They have their own way of life. Religion is extremely important, and the Ivory Coast can boast that they have the largest church in the entire world. It has two capitals. The first is the main capital, and it's pronounced Abidjan. And then the second is an administrative capital, but Abidjan is the main capital that they use. If we look into their music and their culture in that sense, they have a main claim to fame, which is a music genre called Alpha Blondy, which is reggae music. And a lot of well-known reggae artists sample from that. And that includes people like Bob Marley. Another big thing there is soccer. Soccer is huge in the Ivory Coast. They have a very well-known soccer, well, it's called football, but soccer team, whose nickname is the Elephants. They have won the Africa Cup 3 times in 1992, in 2015, and in 2023. Football is the most watched and beloved sport in all of the Ivory Coast. When we look at food, they have a different palate. Theirs has more spices, more savory spices that not a lot of people use. And I mean, they have some dishes that are a little unique. One of these dishes is called peanut butter stew, and it really contains peanut butter and peanuts. But they have other foods too, and a lot of it is kosava. It's all based around kosava, rice, spices. And they have a huge culture wrapping around their food. Everything is based around food, whether it be, talking about business. You talk about business over food. Family conversation, you bond over food. food in this culture brings people together. Important facts that you need to know. First off, French is the most spoken language in Ivory Coast. But they warn you very quickly, do not automatically assume that people can understand or speak English well. They do provide people who can translate for you, but it's pretty steep. It's like $300 to $500 a day. As of February 15th of 2009, you must have a valid Ivorian visa and a passport with at least 6 months of validity left, or you won't even be admitted into the country. Also, you must have a yellow World Health Organization booklet with a valid yellow fever stamp stating that you've been vaccinated. The malaria Phylexis is highly recommended. You get this, keeps you from getting malaria, but I mean, anywhere you go in the world, you stand a chance of catching something. It just depends on how you take care of yourself. Also, they recommend that you carry sunscreen, you wear it, you keep your water intake really high because you are super close to the equator and temperatures can reach as high as 100 degrees on a good day. Also, that's another thing that's going to come into our business etiquette. Excuse me. And clothing for this meeting should be lightweight, cotton breathable material. No matter if you're going in for the meeting or not, it's going to be very hot. Also, punctuality is expected, and they feel that tardiness is an absolute insult. It's very rude. When meeting for the first time, everybody shakes hands. But if you're meeting for a second time, men again shake hands, but women kiss 3 times on each cheek. It is not customary to bring a gift, but they do say that if you do bring a gift, it should be something that is practical and useful. Their main trading is between the United States, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Nigeria, and Italy. Most Ivorians are suspicious of large corporations that do their work or their business online. They prefer face-to-face meetings. They prefer to have that close business relationship. They feel that it would last a very long time in the long run. When it comes down to sitting and eating, which you more than likely will hear, again, everything happens over food. When you eat, talk about business, happens over food. The first unique thing you're going to see or realize while there is that you're going to be brought 3 levels or 3 rounds of tea. The first round is bitter, no sweetness at all. The second round has a very little sugar, but it's a little sweeter. And the third round is very, very sweet. And the locals will tell you that this means that they are reflecting on the relationship that they expect for you and your business to have with them. It only gets better with time. Also, if you are in a place where you're sitting at a low table, you have to sit with your feet under you or behind you because it is considered disrespectful to have your toes facing the food. Also, you have to wash your hands before eating every meal because a lot of it is hand food. And also, when you're eating, you use your right hand only. If they give you a spoon or a fork, you still have to use your right hand only. It's just the way that they do things. Once everybody is situated, then you eat in a dignified order. The guest is first, and then it would be the next oldest male, and so on and so forth until everyone has gotten their food. Their main exports are coca, coffee, timber, rubber, cotton, palm oil, pineapples, and bananas. The main imports are consumer goods and capital goods. For a trip like this, I recommend that you go at least 2 days early so that you can become acclimated with your surroundings and then you are able to put your best foot forward. You're prepared for the meeting that's coming in for a couple days ahead of you. make sure that even though I've given you a pretty good amount of information, that you do on your own some research as you're there. I feel that if you follow these guidelines and you go into this meeting with these unique people with respect and with care, that your meeting will be a success.